What I love about Forsyth County is it still has a hometown feel, even though we're at 250,000 people now.
We are constantly seeing new families moving to the area, and it's been consistently growing and growing and growing.
We transitioned from a primary rural agriculture community to more a suburban growing part of the metro Atlanta area in a pretty short period of time. With that has come great opportunities, but it's brought challenges, and probably one of the biggest challenges has been transportation.
There's definitely traffic. You can't deny that. That is pretty tough and kind of a nightmare if you're going home at 5 o'clock like we are.
Transportation really is a quality of life issue, and it affects everyone in some way on a daily basis.
Thinking about transportation, in 2009, Georgia 141 was widened from a 2-lane road to a 4-lane road, which for the people in South Forsyth, it was, revolutionary for their lives, because you literally saved 30 minutes a day of your life from being in a car. So when the 2014 came along and we started talking about widening 400, I thought, there's so many people on 141, there's 10 times more people on Georgia 400.
Nearly 7 years ago now, the Forsyth County Board of Commissioners took a bold action by promoting a transportation bond to the citizens of Forsyth County, who said yes to advanced transportation projects all around the county. And wow, what a great outcome that's been. In fact, State Route 400 most likely wouldn't be widened today to 6 lanes. Because of the great partnership, some innovative contracting through the Department of Transportation, today we have that success of 400 being 6 lanes through most of Forsyth County. The transportation bond in 2014 was a real game changer back then, again for Forsyth County and for GDOT to partner with to advance many projects.
Forsyth County has had great transportation success over the last decade. You think back to projects like Bethelview, you think about the Highway 20 project over into Gwinnett County. We're building on great success here in Forsyth County. But looking forward, we still have challenges. You think about Post Road and the amount of time our residents are having to sit in traffic on Post Road. We think about 306 when you come off Georgia 400 heading back over to what's commonly known as Hammond's Crossing. During certain times of the day, that traffic's backing up onto Georgia 400. That widening project is on the books and needs to be funded. And there's so many countless other projects. But we also have major success projects that are going to be future success stories, like the 369 and 400 interchange project that's currently under construction. And the Georgia Department of Transportation is going to be soon bidding out the managed lane project coming up Georgia 400 that will improve not only the lives of our residents, but also the ability of others to come here, shop, and work here in our community.
Transportation investment means progress and in keeping Forsyth County moving, which is critical for everyone.
In the near future, you as residents are going to be asked to help support even more transportation projects in our county. And if you remember back to what the impact of the 2014 transportation bond was, just think about what the future of our county can be if we do something even bigger.
It's very critical to be strategic and look forward to the future. Plan for that now such that you can continue to grow and prosper the way you have.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome. I want to welcome everybody to the 2021 Transportation Summit, and it's really nice to be saying this on a regular basis. It's good to see you all back in a room compared to where we were this time last year. Thank you all so much for being with us. As a chamber and an organization that is focused on community development, our work cannot happen without our community partners and the partnerships that exist with other folks that are also working on community initiatives. And chief among those is our relationship with all of the Rotary clubs in Forsyth County. And I am very pleased that we were able to partner and co-host today's meeting with the North Forsyth 400 Rotary Club, and many of their members are here today. Thank you all. I know as a Rotarian what it's like to change your meeting location. You go to the same place every Tuesday. I get it, and I thank you for your consideration and joining us today. So thank you. And Adrian Flack is the president of the North Forsyth 400 Rotary Club. I'd like to ask Adrian to please join me for a word of welcome.
Thank you, James. On behalf of the North Forsyth 400 Rotary Club, welcome to the 2021 Forsyth County Transportation Summit. I'd like to thank the Chamber for the opportunity to partner with them for this important event. I would also like to thank all of you that, ironically, added to today's traffic to come here in person, and also to all of those that are viewing online. It is my honor to be the current president of the North Forsyth 400 Rotary Club, which is one of 5 Rotary clubs here in Forsyth County. That means that if you are interested in visiting or joining a Rotary Club, one meets in just about every part of this county. If you are interested in visiting the best Rotary Club, ours meets on Tuesday at noon at the Coal Mountain Community Center. For those of you who are unfamiliar with what Rotary is, or those of you who may have forgotten, the object of Rotary is to encourage and foster the ideal of service as a basis of a worthy enterprise. Hence our motto, service above self. I encourage all of you, Rotarians or not, to find your opportunity to serve your community today. And if you can serve hand in hand with your neighbors, even better. So without further ado, if y'all would, let's please stand and pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Adrian, thank you. And again, another thanks to all of the folks in Rotary for joining us today. And the good news is, if you came not knowing that this was a joint Rotary meeting and you're a Rotarian, you get a makeup. So be sure to report that back to your club as well. We have a number of community leaders joining us today, and I'd like to take a moment and recognize and thank them. First is one of our panelists that we'll hear from in just a moment, our GDOT Commissioner Russell McMurray. We're also joined from our legislative delegation, Senator Greg Dolezal and Representative Todd Jones. We are also joined today from the Board of Commissioners Chairwoman Cindy Jones Mills, Commissioner Laura Simonson, Commissioner Alfred John, and Commissioner Todd Levent. We are also joined by our sheriff, as well as GDOT District Engineer Kelvin Mullins. And from the Forsyth County Board of Education, our chair, Kristen Morrissey, is here with us today. And if someone came in and I have overlooked you, I apologize. If you'll just let me know, and I will make sure that we come back to you when I come back on stage. But please join me in thanking our community partners for being here and joining us today, and for all of their support. We cannot do this work without our private partners and private investors. And so I want to take a moment and thank all of our sponsors, which you'll find in your programs. Our title sponsor is Martin Marietta Materials. Our platinum sponsor, Lou Saab Honda and Kia, and our other platinum sponsor, Beaver Toyota. Thank you all very much. Our stage sponsor today is Atlas Technical Consultants. The South Forsyth CID has sponsored your program, so you should have those. And John Antoine, I saw you over there. Welcome. And you'll also find the program on the event website. Office Creations has sponsored the furniture on our production set today, and it looks very nice. Thank you, guys. Our gold sponsor includes Georgia Power and Renaissance Bank, and our bronze sponsors are Smith & Howard, Vertical Earth, and Clear Course. Let's thank all of our sponsors for making today happen. As I mentioned a moment ago, our title sponsor is Martin Marietta Materials, a member of the S&P 500 Index. Martin Marietta is an American-based company and a leading supplier of building materials, including aggregates, cement, ready-mix concrete, and asphalt. Through a network of operations spanning 27 states, Canada, and the Bahamas, dedicated Martin Marietta teams supply the resources necessary for building the solid foundations on which our communities thrive. And probably no better example of that is the event they hosted with us this weekend, the Boulder Dash 5K, 10K. Thank you, guys. I know that, as hard as it is for Rotarians to change locations, imagine bringing a whole bunch of community people in to run through your mine. So thank you all for that partnership. And let's learn just a little bit more about this outstanding community partner.
I am a plant manager.
I am a physical tester.
I'm a mine planning manager.
I am a concrete salesman.
I am a ready-mix driver.
Foreman.
Reliability engineer.
Cement plant manager.
Strategy and business development.
We are thousands of people across hundreds of locations in dozens of states. But together, we are Martin Marietta, and we are one. We crush rock and crunch numbers. We care for our environment and for our customers. And collectively, we're part of something greater, something special.
Martin's a great company to work for.
I come to work because I want to be here. The job is different every day. It comes down to happy customers, good products, and everyone going home safe.
It's about legacy. We've grown deep roots in the communities where we operate and built the foundation on which future generations will grow. We know the safe and ethical choices each of us make today will help us strengthen that foundation so that together we will share in the promise of tomorrow.
You always hear stories of the guys who came before us, and it makes you want to build upon that and leave something for the next generation.
The person that came before me left a fantastic legacy when it comes to reliability, and I just, hope that I can do the same.
It's about truth. Our customers return time and time again because they know that a Martin Marietta employee's word means something. Honesty and dependability are the touchstones of our success.
If a customer comes here to get a product and we're honest about what we give them, then he's going to feel that he can come back here.
The more honest people are with what's going on out in the plant, the better everything goes.
It's about heart. We care for each other. We care for our communities. We work together to positively impact our world.
We have a big responsibility to take care of our community, our families, our future generations.
We're all compassionate. We're all driven.
I know at the end of the day, what I do is helping our community.
It's about all of us, together. One team, one purpose, one future. As we write the next chapter in Martin Marietta's history, what part will you play?
I am integrity.
I am excellence.
I am stewardship.
We are community.
We are guardian angels.
We are.
We are.
We are.
We are.
We are Martin Marietta, and we are one.
Martin Marietta, thank you, and thank you for being a phenomenal community partner. I also wanted to make sure that I introduce two incredible champions, longtime champions of transportation that are with us today. Senator Steve Gooch is with us, as well as GDOT board member Rudy Bowen, and thank you both for being with us today. I am so grateful to our business community who continues to make transportation a top priority, and very grateful to our elected leaders and community leaders who continue to say that transportation continues to be a major priority and reason for investment in our community. Our county manager, Kevin Tanner, who has some pretty dang nice credentials around transportation, will be sharing more about Forsyth County's transportation efforts in a few moments. But before he does that, let's take a look at a quick video that showcases the progress our community has made.
This is Governor Brian Kemp. It's my honor to address you today and highlight your commendable efforts to keep Forsyth County at the forefront of transportation in our state. Forsyth is one of the fastest growing counties in our state, driven by high quality schools, low taxes, and modern public amenities. Ideally situated between Atlanta and the North Georgia mountains, Forsyth is beloved by residents and visitors alike for its rural charm and potential for growth. As that growth continues, roadways such as State Route 400 will continue increasing in importance as essential routes for our state. To prepare for future expansion while staying true to its roots, Forsyth County officials are working hard to improve roads in their communities. Our state's transportation leaders and I look forward to continuing a partnership with Forsyth County that will ensure Georgia's roads are ready to meet the residential and commercial needs of today and tomorrow. Thanks again, God bless, and keep up the great work.
We're going to continue to grow, so this is the next place that everybody wants to be. So if you think about where Roswell and Alpharetta were maybe 20 years ago, that's where Forsyth County is today.
We've been blessed to be the best in so many ways. We have great schools, great parks, great roads, great residents. So that draws a lot of attention just from people who want to locate here, residents as well as businesses.
So you combine schools, parks and rec, quality of life, economic opportunity, and ultimately low crime and safety, and you have a formula to be the place where everybody wants to live. And with that opportunity, and with the fact we get to welcome new neighbors every day also comes a challenge, right? So we have to keep up with infrastructure. So our infrastructure needs probably are the greatest in the state because we are the fastest growing county in the state. So we're hard at work working on different ways to connect North and South Forsyth County, East and West Forsyth County, to allow people ultimately to spend less time with their car and more time with their family.
There's a lot of ongoing construction, but I will say this, I feel like the county tries to stay ahead of it. So even though there is congestion, it's not so bad, but then they're already, planning for growth in a specific area. So they've been really proactive about it. I can't complain.
What I always tell people though is traffic and congestions on the roadway mean that you have commerce because it's usually slowed because of trucks. And that's a good thing as long as we have commerce running. So I think that all of these larger developments that are happening inside the region, everybody benefits. A rising tide lifts all boats.
We've done a very good job of improving our infrastructure over the last couple of decades. If you look at Windermere Parkway in South Forsyth, if you look at Mathis Airport Road, if you look at Ronald Reagan, all of those are great thoroughfares, and we continue to improve that. Going forward, we look forward to the widening of McGinnis Ferry from Johns Creek Hospital to McFarland Parkway. We also look forward to the widening of Old Atlanta Road from James Burgess Road down to St. Marlow and McGinnis Ferry. If you look at the Ronald Reagan extension, that will be one of the most impactful ones because it will provide a direct connection from McFarland Road or McGinnis Ferry all the way up to Marketplace Boulevard and Baldridge Marina Road.
Well, it's not so much even the traffic improvements, it's what's coming in the future. When you look at the extension of Ronald Reagan, of that nature, widening of McGinnis Ferry, those are huge projects that the county is undertaking and that things are moving forward. So it's not so much what's already here, but what's coming.
When you want to build roads, when you want to build sidewalks, all of that costs money. And a SPLOST would be one vehicle through which we raise funds. It is spread evenly based on who spends money at a store, restaurant, or at a car dealership. We use those funds to build out our roads and sidewalks and improve them as well. Look, infrastructure projects are not possible without the support of the voters who have approved a transportation bond and a SPLOST in the past, and the incredible support of Russell McMurray of GDOT and Governor Kemp's office.
We've seen great synergy between the county and the state. So there's tremendous partnership really between all of our elected officials, our Board of Education, our Board of Commissioners, our sheriff, our state delegation. The Lieutenant Governor lives right here in Forsyth County, and I like to joke that I want our Lieutenant Governor sitting in traffic on Georgia 400. And it's a joke, but there's some seriousness there. I want our Lieutenant Governor having his children in our schools. I want elected officials that live and breathe what we all live and breathe just as normal people. But it means we need to think differently. And we need leaders who think differently. And what I've seen actually happen really over the last 10 years in the county is we have elected more and more forward-thinking leaders who are helping us take that next step into the future, which is exciting for me, just as a resident of the county. And so to get, government to move in the same direction is a skill, and it's something we have great leadership at the county level that has experience with that skill. Even our new county manager, Kevin Tanner, coming on board, great selection because he kind of knows how to pull the levers at state government, having been a state rep before. So we're really putting the building blocks in place to unlock traffic gridlock in Forsyth County, as well as looking for our needs 10 years down the road. As the growth does continue to come, it's going to continue to push north. We have to make sure that we're ready for that. And I think that the team that's in place right now is the exact team to help us transition from 2020 to 2030, which is what we need to be thinking about.
Good afternoon. Thank you all for being here both in person and online to discuss one of the most pressing issues facing Forsyth County, one that affects nearly every single resident of Forsyth County, transportation. We're all here because we know that mobility is essential to economic growth, to quality of life that Forsyth County has come to be known for. I'm going to spend a few minutes reviewing where we've been, where we are now, and where we need to go in the future to keep Forsyth County moving forward. The video you just watched shows us how far we've come over the last decade. Forsyth County residents invested in transportation, and Forsyth County government has delivered. The projects highlighted in the video are a culmination of years of strategic planning and smart execution. It requires not only knowing what projects to invest in, but also a sustainable funding source to make major infrastructure investment a reality. According to the 2020 census, Forsyth County has grown over the last decade 39%. From 2010 to 2019, 39%. That's a whopping growth in Forsyth County. The county has matched that progression with improvements to our infrastructure that address not only the needs of Forsyth County residents today, but the Forsyth County residents of tomorrow. We could not have made it this far without the support of the Georgia Department of Transportation. We are fortunate to have a strong partnership with my friend, Commissioner Russell McMurray, who you will hear from on the stage later today, and his entire GDOT team. His door is always open to Forsyth County, but he's very quick to remind me that we have to do our part and step up also. Projects like Bethelview Road and State Route 400 would not have been possible without GDOT. Likewise, we would not be where we are today without the residents of Forsyth County. The trust they placed in the county in 2014 by passing the transportation bond has allowed us to make strategic transportation investments that have improved mobility in Forsyth County. As we all know too well, change is constant, and we should always be looking to the future. You may have heard that Forsyth County recently joined the Atlanta Regional Commission. A big driver of that decision was transportation planning as we look ahead to be more connected to the broader region. According to the Atlanta Regional Commission, our population is projected to reach 315,000 people by the year 2030. Our transportation needs are only going to increase over the next decade, which means our investment must increase as well. So while we have already made significant infrastructure investments in many ways, Forsyth County is just getting started. In order to stay ahead of future needs, there's a lot of work that needs to be done, but we have momentum on our side. Forsyth County residents have demonstrated that they understand the importance of investing in transportation funding. As I mentioned earlier, in 2014, you stepped up and approved the transportation bond. And in 2018, you approved a SPLOST that included transportation funding. We saw in the video some of the landmark projects that have been made possible by these funds. In addition to the widening of 400 and Bethelview Road, work is underway at 369 and Georgia 400 interchange. The Ronald Reagan extension and the Pilgrim Mill Road is well underway, and slated for construction is the McGinnis Ferry widening and Old Atlanta widening, both to begin early next year. And folks, these are only the highlights. At your seat, you will find a full list of all the projects that have been funded by either the transportation bond or by the SPLOST. Now, I'm not going to sugarcoat the situation. These projects are extremely expensive. The Post Road is a headache for many of our residents, and it's high on the priority list to be tackled. But did you know that this one project alone will cost the county $100 million? In order to keep up with that infrastructure needs, Forsyth County must have a strong funding source. So what's next, and how do we get there? These are exciting opportunities that are on the horizon. In fact, these opportunities are more than exciting. They are potential game changers. Over the next decade, Forsyth County could be poised of an investment in the tune of $1 billion in transportation projects. Yes, you heard that correct, $1 billion. This could be life-changing and transformational for our community. We have several funding options at our disposal to pay for transportation projects. The real question is which option gives us the most benefit in the shortest amount of time and allows us to make the most of our investment. One avenue is the county's general fund. This fund is flexible and it can be used for a broad range of services. However, it is the fund that we also use to pay for essential services, just as the fire department and the sheriff's office. There's also the county millage rate. Forsyth County is proud of the fact that we have the lowest millage rate of all the large counties in Georgia and the lowest millage rate in the metro Atlanta, and we plan to keep it that way. We could also look at bonds, but quite frankly, these do not go far and take years to pay off. The 2014 bond was for $200 million. The first $100 million of that bond will not be paid off until 2038. If you're also looking at holistically the pool of projects that will cost hundreds of millions of dollars, bonds will just come up too short. If you do the math, none of these options provide the funding necessary to allow us to get the most bang for the buck. The fact of the matter is, paying for transportation at this level requires a sustainable, dedicated funding source. There is an option available to us that can generate this kind of revenue, and we really need that type of impact, and that is T-Splosh. T-Splosh would generate, without growth at the current level, $52 million a year dedicated solely to transportation projects. When we leverage that with state and possibly federal dollars, we could have the opportunity to create an opportunity that's never been faced in Forsyth County before. It's also worth mentioning that GDOT recently shared with me that Georgia stands to receive as much as $300 million of additional funding if Congress passes an infrastructure bill. Well, just imagine if Forsyth County had a dedicated fund for transportation. We start with our $52 million a year generated from T-Splosh, and then we add state dollars and possibly federal dollars, and all of a sudden we are doubling our investment year over year of $100 to $100 million. Extend that over 10 years, and we are potentially looking at spending as much as $1 billion on surface transportation. That is a game changer for Forsyth County. In addition to making our dollars go further, T-Splosh allows us to pay as you go. This means we wouldn't have to take out debt for 20 years that would be paid for with property taxes. Another drawback to bonds is that the cost falls solely on the property tax holder. It is paid for, T-Splosh, however, is paid for by everyone who spends money in Forsyth County. If folks are visiting Lake Lanier or coming from surrounding areas to do their shopping in Forsyth County, they spend money on our infrastructure. Everyone pays their fair share to keep Forsyth County moving forward. I want to reiterate to you today that without the support of our citizens, we would not be where we are today. You, Forsyth County citizens, stepped up in 2014 and made a commitment to transportation. You have made our county the top place in Georgia to live. This community is yours, and you have the ability to make transportation work for you the way it's supposed to. It starts with us, and it starts today. As I close, I want you to have the opportunity to hear from our Capital Project Director, John Jefferson, about some of the high-profile projects currently underway. I know one of the biggest questions around road projects is, are they making any progress? Our new series, On the Move, will keep Forsyth County updated on major road projects happening around the community. Let's take a look at some of the highlights, the first 2 episodes of the series covering Highway 369 interchange and the Ronald Reagan extension. Thank you.
Hi everybody, Russell Brown with Forsyth County Government Communications, and this is On the Move. Forsyth County certainly on the move with a lot of projects around the county, on the roads, at parks, and also some buildings under construction as well. And today we're at SR 369 and SR 400. Big improvements happening here. John Jefferson is the Capital Project Director for Forsyth County, and he's kind enough to join us here today. John, thank you so much for coming out here.
Sure, thank you for having me. Glad to be here.
For those that don't know, a lot is happening here at 369 and 400. Walk us through the improvements.
Sure. It's a joint project with GDOT, the Georgia Department of Transportation, and Forsyth County. The project has 2 major components. One is widening State Route 369 from west of Cold Mountain Elementary School. We're improving the intersection at Highway 9, coming over to 400, heading east, going over to 306. We're also improving that intersection, and we're going beyond that. The largest part of the project is we're changing the crossing of 369 and Georgia 400 to a grade-separated interchange. So we're going to build a bridge for 369 to go over Georgia 400. That will mean the traffic northbound and southbound on Georgia 400 will be able to continue without having to stop at a red light.
Taking a look at what's soon to be a very large extension here at Ronald Reagan. So, John, what's happening here behind us?
So this is roughly a 3.5-mile extension on the south end of Ronald Reagan Boulevard. It starts at the intersection of where Ronald Reagan currently ends and Majors Road at the Lanier Tech campus, and it will extend all the way down to McFarland Parkway.
So as you can see already, a lot of work underway here behind us. Where are we at right now in the progress with this, and where are we heading towards the finish line in a couple of years?
The right-of-way's been cleared. A lot of the structures are being installed now, box culverts. There's a bridge near the other end of the project that they're just about ready to pour the bridge deck. We're roughly 2 years from completion. This extension will be parallel to Georgia 400. It'll allow you to get off at McFarland Parkway if 400's jammed up. It'll have you another way to go north or south to get up through the county.
A lot happening here with this extension, going to vastly change traffic in South Forsyth. We're excited to see the future of this. Hey, be sure to join us for a lot more of On the Move coming in the next couple of weeks. We'll go behind the scenes of some other projects around the county, whether it's roads, parks, buildings. We're going to take a look at all of it, make sure you've got the most up-to-date information on what's happening here in your community. Be sure to join us on social media, and of course, streaming online at ForsythCO.com and TV Forsyth, AT&T Channel 99, Comcast Channel 23.
I think we should give our county leadership a big round of applause. It is very hard not to get really excited when you think about the future of what, not just what we've done, but what is to come. And Kevin, thank you very much for your comments. Now we're going to hear from several key leaders for transportation, both Georgia and our region. The first of those is our panel moderator today, Seth Milliken. Seth is the Executive Director of the Georgia Transportation Alliance and serves as the Georgia Chamber's resident expert on all things transportation and infrastructure. Seth brings over 15 years of experience in politics and government and has helped lead several significant policy initiatives, including the Transportation Funding Act of 2015 and the creation of the ATL in 2018. We're very fortunate to have him in our community today, helping us facilitate a discussion on this very pressing issue. Seth, thank you.
Thanks, James. I appreciate it.
Glad to be with you all today. Before I call our panelists up, I'd be remiss if I didn't recognize a couple of my board members that are in the room today. I saw Dave and Connor, Derek, Travis. So if you're a member of the Georgia Transportation Alliance Board of Directors, if you could just stand for just a moment. These guys are a group of businesses and companies that have operations and a presence all across the state of Georgia in communities like Cumming and Forsyth County that are heavily invested in a lot of the initiatives that you just heard about from Kevin, and so glad to have those folks with us today. So as I introduce our panelists, if y'all can come up and join us, it's always a pleasure to hear from our Commissioner of the Georgia Department of Transportation, one of our key partners. I told Russell a while ago as he's walking out, make sure his wallet's still in his back pocket here as we're talking about transportation. So Russell, glad to have you with us today. Previous chairman of the board, Carter Patterson, Representative Ty Jones, and then Chairwoman Cindy Jones Mills. So great to have these folks with us today and looking forward to the conversation. So Carter, I'll start with you. In your experience working kind of with the business community here, having seen the history here in Forsyth, what was the point at which you really saw Forsyth County's transportation infrastructure kind of take that first leap forward?
Well, like a lot of people here, I moved to this county 1997, back when it was 75,000 people. And I lived in South Forsyth off of Georgia 141, a nice little two-lane country road at the time. And like a lot of us, I think the realtor said, any year now, that road's going to be widened to 4 lanes. Well, from 1997 to 2009, we lived through a lot of pain in South Forsyth on that road. And when it finally got widened to 4 lanes, it was a real game, not just game changer, but a life changer for the citizens that lived and had to use these roads every day, from living in gridlock to finally being able just to go to the store and back. And so in 2013, when, we were all in pain throughout the county with Georgia 400. And with the bond passing, it was weeks later after the bond passed that they started widening that road. And I think we've all gone through what the pain is that we went through a long time ago.
Thank you. That's great. Russell, I've heard you say this many, many times, the importance of the partnerships that GDOT has with our local governments all across the state. It's great to have you here today. Maybe talk a little bit about the history of the partnership with Forsyth County and some of the things that you see moving forward.
Well, thank you, Seth. And this is a great question because as I think back and as we're preparing for today, I just think about the great partnership that Georgia DOT shares with Forsyth County. And that just didn't happen. It just wasn't happenstance that we created a great partnership. It goes back to about 2013, actually, and 2014. And when I give credit to Rudy Bowen, our State Transportation Board member there. Rudy, put your hand up. For working with the county in facilitating a discussion with the county and GDOT, and so a few Board of Commissioners. I see Todd Levent there and Cindy here, and maybe some other Board of Commissioners have changed since then, but we had a series of meetings to talk about an evolution of thought for the county, and Rudy had the experience with Gwinnett County of how Gwinnett really saw exponential growth and saw Forsyth County poised in that same vein, and how to benefit from those lessons learned from Gwinnett. And we had these series of discussions, and the evolution of thought to me that the county changed was us and them, that we'll do our thing, state you do your thing, to really where success lies in that we have to be all in this together. Because the citizens don't care if they're on a state route, a county road, or a city street. It's all transportation. And usually when you get from A to Z, you traverse all those things. So it was really a collaborative effort back then, before the bond even before a bond was being discussed. We came together in this partnership and knew that we could be fruitful by what I call a force multiplier. And when the bond discussion came in, just really changed the dynamic, and this was before the historic HB 170 or the Transportation Funding Act of 2015
that you know all about, Seth, which really changed the state's funding opportunities to increase that by $1 billion. So we were cobbling things together back then to, again, very much what Kevin has suggested is how do we work together going forward for the future. If the county can do this, then the state can do that. And we got to the success card of 400, because I can tell you today, without that partnership and that mentality of we're all in this together, I'm not sure that 400 would be 6 lanes today even. It still would be, it might be under construction, but can you imagine? I don't want to imagine it, and I drive it often, so it's a great partnership. It's again, coming to the table to figure out how do we leverage each other. And, you know, as you think about 141, I had dark hair when we widened that. In my first experience in Forsyth County, was back in the late 90s when we were working on this project in the middle of nowhere. It was building the McFarland Road, rebuilding the McFarland Road interchange. There was nothing out there. Look at it today.
Kind of staying on that note, talking about partnerships, obviously everything we do here in Georgia as it relates to transportation is somewhat affected by or connected to the federal government. And I keep wanting to call him Chairman Tanner. He's not Chairman Tanner anymore. Kevin mentioned the infrastructure bill in his comments a few weeks ago. Obviously, a lot to come there, but presuming that does pass, what does that look like for the state of Georgia, and then maybe particularly what does that mean for Forsyth County?
Well, absolutely. Really a historic bill, transportation bill. They happen about every 5 years, and you hear about it. It's sort of all tangled up in what you hear about on the news with reconciliation and debt ceiling, and then there's this little thing called the IIJA, or the Transportation Reauthorization, which, and I've talked back to 3 U.S. DOT secretaries to ask if they'd ever seen anything with such a sea-level change of funding in a transportation reauthorization. None of those former U.S. DOT secretaries can ever remember, going back to the early 90s, that there's been going to be this much increase in funding. So that presents opportunity. And those opportunities will be big for Georgia, as all states need more investment in transportation infrastructure. So that is a great opportunity, but to the point is, it takes money to match the federal money. It's not 100%, and they're not grants. They call it grants, but you got to use your money and get reimbursed. That's the way the federal process works. So it's really a historic opportunity, and the timing of this conversation of investment in infrastructure is spot on, because by the time you move forward and thinking about how you will move transportation forward in Forsyth County, Congress will pass this. It will pass. When, I can't tell you, but it will pass, because the nation's infrastructure is in need, and this is significant investment with all the things that you saw in the videos of population growth, economy. You know, it's really about lifestyle. It's really about quality of life. Transportation knits all those things together. So it's going to pass. What it means to Georgia is increased federal funding is sort of on the baseline is initially about 21% in the first year, and then it grows about 2% each year after that for the next 4 years. So that's a tremendous shot in the arm. Is it enough just to do it all with federal money? No, it's not. So it's generational in the size, but it's 21%. Now, there's a lot of other wrinkles to the federal transportation bill, a lot of discretionary opportunities in true grant awards, but it takes local dollars to come to the table to pursue those things. And so if you don't have that, then you can't pursue. So it's exciting times in transportation. We're all eagerly watching to see what Congress does over the next month or months. But it will pass, and it will be good for Georgia, and it'll be good for the nation.
Madam Chair, we've talked federal, kind of state. Obviously, the local leadership component of this is very important. So for your time, you've been a pretty tireless advocate for transportation, infrastructure, those sort of things. In your mind, looking at this at the local level, why is that so important for Forsyth County's future?
I think, Kevin, our county manager touched on that with the growth rate that we have had. You know, you can ask developers to do certain things. I mean, the developers have come in and they have run a lot of sewer lines, but you can't ask them to put the necessary roads in because of the cost that's associated with them. you know, they do road improvements with intersections and whatnot, but with the growth we've experienced, the 4-lane of a road is just astronomical. And I think that what Russell touched on is we were missing that partnership, and we, in the past, looked at it maybe that that's a state road, and the state has to do that, and the burden is put on the state. Well, the gas tax wasn't cutting it, and they couldn't keep up, and the county couldn't keep up, and we could keep up with libraries, and with the $100 million, we were able to keep up with the parks, that we were able to pass that. I was on the Park and Rec board at that time, and the citizens, if it hadn't been for that, our parks wouldn't have kept up. But we realized in that meeting in 2013 when we came to, Commissioner Levant was there, and Brian and Pete and Jim Boff, and we came with our hands out saying, we're in trouble. We need help. Our roads are just, every one of us in our districts were just facing a crisis of needing help. And it was, if we don't get this House bill to pass, the state needed help. And we were all in the same boat. And we realized that Gwinnett had something going, not only being in ARC, but they were funding projects themselves. And it's, you have a phrase that you used at the time that you probably don't like me to use, but we help those that help themselves. I remember you saying, and we didn't have a means of helping ourselves, but we needed to figure it out. And we looked at each other, and it's a little scary as a politician to go to your citizens and say, will you pass a bond? And I mean, will you be willing to do that? And we said, if you will, we'll pay back the first $100 million in the SPLOST, because we were scared. You know, we wanted to say, if you believe in us, then we'll believe back, and we'll believe in GDOT, and we'll all partner, and yes, it will be state roads. But I mean, we were doing roads just like 369 and the interchange. That wasn't even in the first list. It wasn't even going to get done because we didn't have the funds and the $200 million to do it. But the bid came in so good for 400 that it was able to be done now. And that was all out of a partnership. And I want to touch on, it was not just a partnership with GDOT, but it was a partnership on the board, because it was, you know, in politics, it can be such a selfish thing at times. And it was really a belief in a unity on our board that everybody might not be getting the same amount of money per district. You know, it was about the need. And, you know, South Forsyth might be getting more money because of the need was so much greater. But nobody got into fighting about that. You know, and it worked out that North Forsyth got something at the end that was so needed that we didn't know that in the beginning, that it was going to happen like that. And that's, to me, that's what real leadership is about, that you might not see that it's all going to equal out at the beginning, but it works out in the end. And it was, and the same thing that it occurred with GDOT, that we didn't, yeah, they were state roads. And that's been used against me politically. Oh, she took that and she is using, you know, she's letting the county pay for state roads, blah, blah, blah. But that's partnership, you know, and I've heard Russell say that $200 million bond that we did has reaped us the benefits of close to, I mean, $1 billion or several, way more than what our $200 million, but it's because we had the money to be able to forward projects. And it's projects that we would have never, I mean, they still wouldn't be getting done right now. 369 would not be getting widened. The interchange would not be happening. And that the need is so great, and other projects as well. And so, I mean, it's like in the Bible where it says about not having a vision, and it's creating that vision and being able to move it forward. And I compliment our board, the board then, the board now, and having that kind of leadership of working together and creating unity.
Well, success certainly begets success, and there have been a lot of successes that have come out of that 2014 program. You talked a little bit about some of those. As you look into the future and maybe an opportunity to do a T-Splost or something along those lines, what's your vision for that? What are some of those game-changing projects that you think would grow out of that?
Well, there's needs everywhere throughout the county. In my district in particular, Highway 9 and 306 are both state roads that are they're suffering badly right now. The growth of zonings from the past as well as zonings that are occurring now. 400, being done right now is putting particular pressure on those roads. 306 backs up in all directions especially at certain times of the day. Backs up onto 400, backs up onto Highway 9. At certain times of the day, 9 backs up. We're hoping to be able to we've already paid for the design of 306 from 400 to Hammond's Crossing. We know that even doing the improvement with the intersection at Hammond's Crossing is just a tiny Band-Aid. We're hoping that, the infrastructure bill, the federal dollars might help if we, be able to do that. And, we've got development coming into those areas that is even going to put even more demand, that those get done. So those are just some of the big ones that need to be done.
That's great. Kind of shifting back to the state level, Representative Jones, we've worked together down at the Capitol for a number of years on a number of different initiatives, many of them having to do with innovation and technology and transportation. As we're thinking about looking at the future, in some of your work at the Capitol, what do you see as the future there? What does the future of transportation look like in your mind?
So I'm the Back to the Future guy. I think there's something to be said about the summit being in the font that it is. It reminds you of the movie font. But I want to touch on something that Commissioner Mills mentioned before I hit that,
Absolutely.
if that's okay.
Please do.
These are the things that should be keeping, I know it keeps me up at night, I'm sure it keeps the commissioner up at night, but Commissioner Mills mentioned the excise tax that you all pay when you're fueling up your car or your truck, et cetera. Here's the thing, nearly every major manufacturer has announced that their power plants will be at least 50% hybrid or electric by 2025. So we expect somewhere between kind of 2028, 2032, we're going to start seeing the demand for traditional fuel to go down. Some would even argue it'll go earlier than that. But imagine this, there's a significant amount of revenue flow that goes into the commissioner's budget that is dependent upon that excise tax. And now we have to figure out a way to substitute that. I'm not a fan of putting a monitor on your car because it's none of my business where you drive and when you drive. I'm definitely not a fan of doing something like that in terms of a toll coming into our state. But I think it's something that we need to be thinking about in terms of not just people who live here in Georgia. I think that, I'll say business case or that use case is a little easier to solve. But what about the individual in Indiana who in 6-7 years is going to have a battery-operated car that goes 1,000 miles without a charge? They could literally leave Indianapolis, go through our state, get to Disney, and maybe stop one time in our state, possibly for Chick-fil-A. We traditionally would pick them up, hopefully at least a fill-up, and then also a Chick-fil-A stop. So yeah, we still get the sales tax on the Chick-fil-A, but we lost the excise tax on Indiana Bob coming through our state and heading down to Disney. So I think these are the type of things that, before I get into what I think the state's looking at innovation-wise, I think there's practical challenges that, I don't want to speak for the commissioner and for the county, but I think there's practical challenges in terms of where we're going to be getting that funding from and how that funding is going to be replaced without us going into your privacy. Because again, the idea of putting monitors on your car just isn't anything I know I would vote for. In terms of innovation, I think what Kevin talked about, or pardon me, County Manager Tanner talked about, he's absolutely right. There's $1 billion in terms of how we see the next 5 to 10 years in terms of doing what I'm going to say is traditional construction, maybe getting the right of way, getting the easement, and making sure that we can widen appropriately. I think there's absolutely a place there. But I think when you think of your portfolio, and it's none of my business if you have $10 in your portfolio or $10 million in your portfolio, you have a diversification within that. And that diversification, in my mind, around transportation needs to include autonomous vehicles, electrification, air taxis, etc. Now, some of you might be kind of going, I think this guy's out of his mind, but I don't know how much out of my mind I am, because just think about just the following things. Over the last 5 years, I'm going to say the business sector has put in a little over $400 billion into investments primarily in autonomous and in electric. Now, when I first met with you guys, or at least a part of you guys right before the pandemic, that number was around 300 million. So just during the course of the pandemic, we've seen an increase of over 33%. What's even more interesting is of that 400 and something billion, now granted, Congress has made a $500 billion sound like not much, but I still think a $500 billion is a lot of money to expect for return on investment. About 65% of that is coming from private equity firms and venture capital. About 30% is coming from technical companies, sound like Apple, Google, et cetera, and only about 5 to 7% is happening from the manufacturers. Whether or not we like Silicon Valley or the Research Triangle or frankly Atlanta, the fact of the matter is that we've seen how the technology industry has fundamentally changed our lives over the last 10 or 20 years. To suspect that they've dropped nearly $500 billion into this technology and to assume that it's not going to become mainstream, I think is probably folly. So I think we need to take advantage of this from a halo brand point of view. We right now don't have that halo brand in technology, and I think we can make it our halo brand. We can beat the Research Triangle and the Silicon Valley. We can beat them in terms of the commercialization of autonomous vehicles. Think about this. We keep hearing about the supply chain issues. I'm not going to point fingers right now, but the supply chain issues, one factor has to do around the idea of the availability of truck drivers. Imagine if coming out of the port of Savannah, the truck gets loaded, maybe on the surface streets, the truck driver brings it to I-16, and then from there it's autonomous, I-16 up through 75, over to 20, and over to Birmingham. And then maybe a surface driver takes it from there. Imagine the idea of that truck being utilized 24 hours a day. Imagine a second scenario, and this is my final point. Imagine if Forsyth County was able to take on the halo brand of air taxis. Orlando, LA, and Dallas have all announced air taxi ports by 2023. What about us taking it on by 2022? What about a set of air taxis that go Forsyth to maybe Sandy Springs or Buckhead, down to Midtown, and then down to the airport? That's the type of stuff that I think we have the ability to take the leadership on. We have the brains. I believe we have the know-how. We just need to have a little bit of where's the hockey puck going as opposed to where the hockey puck is at. And I think we've got a chance to make a difference.
Those are great points. I'm going to come back to the commissioner, and then I'm going to let Carter give the altar call, so to speak. As we look out at the future and we're thinking about the types of projects and strategically where communities should go, kind of similar question. I had a second question for the representative, but he actually answered that one first. So what does the future look like, and what ought we to be thinking about and contemplating as we're thinking about how to build out infrastructure in communities around Georgia?
Yeah, well, thanks, Seth. Let me sort of go back to the technology thing. So how many of you grew up or told your kids, don't talk to strangers online and never get in a car with somebody you don't know? Put your hand up. What do you do when you get an Uber or Lyft? You reach out to somebody you don't know and you hop in a car with somebody you don't know. What a paradigm shift in just, a couple of years, right? So the technology is, and Representative Jones is spot on, the technology is coming very fast. It's going to cause a lot of, I call it positive disruptions. A lot of people call it disruptive technology. I think it's really good technologies. There's a lot of policy things that have to be understood too, especially the revenue part of how do you pay for this critical infrastructure that you will still need, and I would suggest that you are going to need even more of it because of the autonomy that will be coming. But a little more closer to home, this coming down the pike here in Forsyth County, sort of in a regional point of view that will certainly pay dividends and benefits to the citizens of Forsyth County and greater Cumming area. Cindy mentioned State Route 9 challenges, really sort of north of town. South of town, all the way down to Fulton County, we've got 4 projects costing $400 million that will be under construction in the next calendar year or 2. Not only that, to mention the big regional connector of State Route 20, as you know, as you get over to Canton, it's under construction now, and we just had one of your sponsors, actually, Vertical Earth, just won the second extension of that gets out to Union Hill Road and Canton area, but we've got 2 projects that are all in Forsyth County. Those 2 projects are $273 million, something like that, all in cost. So when you're talking about dollars, you see how these, you click them off $250,000 or $1 billion here and there pretty quickly. So this infrastructure is very expensive. But those really provide a lot of regional connectivity that provide sort of certainly a benefit to local, like 141 did for Carter. But then we've got other things. McGinnis Ferry Interchange. You'll see groundbreaking on that very quickly. Bear with us. It's going to take, I think, to 2024. But that project itself, one interchange, about $65 million. That's going to come along, and then the county, and again, I commend the county for advancing something that's very hard. McGinnis Ferry capacity project along the road back down into Johns Creek where it 4-lane ends today. County and 2 cities and GDOT all working together. That's collaboration, cooperation, and it's not easy, folks. It's not easy to deliver these projects. And I guess, Seth, my final thought sort of on looking ahead, transportation projects take too long, right? I bet you guys think I like transportation projects. I'm probably the most impatient, frustrated person at a transportation project you ever meet. Why? Because all of you tell me that. And so we carry that message back. Kelvin Mullins, the district engineer here, he never hears that, like hurry up, we need it yesterday. But quite honestly, these big projects take a long time, so we ask for continued patience, but also continued vision. And I'm not sure if I get another word, but I want to commend the vision for Forsyth County leadership and also the partnership we have with the City of Cumming and the chamber here of everybody working forward. Today is a great testament of how many people are here that are focused on moving Forsyth County forward, not saying, we've had a lot of victories to talk about, but we've got more successes in front of us that we have to see through because, again, as you said, success begets success. I like to say this, and James McCoy somewhere, you can't hide success. This success, people are going to continue to come. Kevin gave you population growth. ARC says population will more than double by 2050, going back to 2015. So it's coming. We've got to be prepared for it, and we at GDOT certainly appreciate the partnership.
Thanks, Russell. Those are great thoughts. Actually, I'm going to grab you when we leave. There's a little project over in Marietta I want to talk to you about. This has been a great look, Carter, into where we've been in Forsyth, kind of where we are now, what the future looks like. If I'm a business leader, if I'm a community leader, a civic leader, what do I need to be prepared to do moving into the future as we're thinking about how to improve transportation in Forsyth County?
Thanks, Seth. The citizens of Forsyth County, they passed the transportation bond. They passed the parks bond. They have stepped up for education. And we are all living in arguably one of the best places to live in Georgia, in Forsyth County. We remember the pain. The pain is less than it was, but we still sit in traffic every day. And we still have to ask ourselves, do we want to relive what we went through, or are we going to stay ahead of the curve? And we're going to have an opportunity to do that. And luckily, every time the citizens have stepped up, our leaders, our Board of Commissioners, our Board of Ed, they've all stepped up and answered the need and will of the citizens. That $200 million, the county commissioners kept their promise, and we're all enjoying the benefits of that. And so the prospect of continuing and doing a new transportation SPLOST, I can't imagine it's going to be great to keep our county ahead of the curve.
Ahead of the curve. That's a great note to end on. Let's thank our panelists, and I'll welcome James back up to close us out.
Seth, thank you and very much appreciate it. And to all of our panelists, thank you. Thank all of you. Both Russell and Cindy made mention of, these things happen over many years, and a lot of the folks that worked on where we are today are they're not commissioners anymore. They're not legislators anymore, and we need to always be mindful of that and to thank them. I know there's a number of former legislators here. There's a Board of Commissioners. In fact, one former Board of Commissioner fed us today. Brian Tam, I don't know if he's in the room, but was involved with this years ago. And we should be very thankful that for generations we have had great leadership that have got us to where we are today, and to be very mindful of that. I want to thank the team that helped host us today, Laura Stewart and Jesse Martin. And Jesse, by the way, thank you for not going into labor during this event. That was my worry. So thank you. Of course, we've got a couple of minutes left. Jenna, thank you. Smith, thank you very much for that as well. And to thank all of our sponsors for making this happen. And finally, to our co-host, the Rotary Club North Forsyth 400, we're going to close with the four-way test. Whether you're a Rotarian or not, we're going to have it up on the screen. You can join us. It's a pretty good thing to join in as we close. So if y'all could bring that up on the screen. The four-way test are the things we think, say, or do. First, is it the truth? Second, is it fair to all concerned? Third, will it build goodwill and better friendships? Fourth, will it be beneficial to all concerned? Thank you all so much for joining us.